Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Navigate Your Future Budgeting for College. We'd like to start by introducing ourselves. My name is Malen, and we also have Heather and Alexis with us here today, who are going to be assisting with chat, and Jessica, who will be assisting with any technical questions. In today's presentation, we are going to look at 5 steps that you can explore when budgeting for college. The first step is to learn the language. The second step is to budget. The third step is to save. The fourth step is to consider building credit and control debt. And lastly, the fifth step is to think about how you are going to protect your assets. Before we get started, we wanted to state that this presentation is for information purposes only. Speak to your parents, guidance counselors, and seek a licensed professional for any sort of financial advice. The first step in navigating your finances and pursuing higher education is to learn and understand the language. Our goal is for you to build a foundation of financial capability. By this, we mean that you have the knowledge and tools to manage your money. Hopefully, you can walk away from this presentation with one piece of information that you can implement in your strategy to navigate your future college and career goals. Financial education is nothing without behavioral change. Thinking about how you'll navigate your future college and career goals can at times feel daunting. Just remember, don't get overwhelmed with a big picture. Small steps and changes can lead to big results. Focus on a few small steps you can implement into your strategy, then you can add a few more steps and changes next year and build from there. Here are some key terms that you should understand when navigating your finances while pursuing higher education. Credit refers to the amount of money you're able to borrow to purchase goods and services. Credit is extended to you from a credit grantor with which you make an agreement to pay back the amount spent, plus applicable interest and fees with an agreed upon time. Federal student aid refers to the aid from the government in the form of grants, loans, and/or work-study programs to assist students with college or career school. Students have to complete the FAFSA form to apply for this aid. Financial aid refers to the money that can be used to help pay for college or career school. Grant is a monetary gift for people pursuing higher education. It is often based on financial need and does not need to be repaid, unless, for example, you withdraw from school and owe a refund. Interest is a loan expense charged for the use of borrowed money. Interest is paid by a borrower to a lender. The expense is calculated as a percentage of the unpaid principal amount of the loan. Principal amount is the initial loan amount. Scholarships are gifts that don't have to be repaid and are designed to help students pay for a college degree. They can be a one-time gift or are renewable depending on the scholarship. Work-study provides part-time jobs for undergraduate and graduate students with financial need. The program encourages community service work and work related to your field of study. To receive funds, you'll need to be awarded work-study and secure a job. Loans and grant scholarships are 2 different methods of paying for college. Loans are money that must be paid back with interest to the lending institution. The lending institution might be a bank or the federal government. Grants and scholarships are often gifts given to a student that do not need to be paid back unless otherwise stipulated. Students will often have to apply for this financial aid and meet their requirements. Scholarships can be found through the school as well as through private organizations. Financial aid can come from many sources in both the public and private sectors. Universities and colleges can provide both scholarships and financial aid as well. Typically, money lending institutions will require that a student fill out an application demonstrating their need for the aid. The most common among these applications is the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So now that you've made it beyond the college or university admissions requirements, you might be wondering, how much does college cost? Well, tuition and fee costs of attending colleges and universities vary widely among schools depending upon what type of college or university you're planning to attend. There are 4 broad categories of colleges and universities that vary significantly in cost. And while many universities and colleges froze tuition for the 2020-2021 academic year, a report released this October by collegeboard.org shows that college and university costs continue to increase. Two-year community college costs about $3,770. A four-year public university that's in-state is $22,180. A four-year public university for an out-of-state student is $38,640. And a four-year private nonprofit university is roughly $50,770. Please note that the cost of the two-year community college does not include room and board. There are other major cost considerations to take into account. Cost and expenses you should expect include tuition and fees, books and supplies, room and board, so this includes living on campus and off campus, your personal expenses such as clothing, personal hygiene, laundry, health insurance, etc., and transportation. Many of these categories may be funded through grants or scholarships, also assistance from parents, grandparents as well. So the second step is to budget your finances in order to save. Setting financial goals can help you when it comes to setting a budget and saving for your future. So goals are why you are making a budget and sticking to it, and a strong why will help you when you have to make those small day-to-day decisions. So think about what some of your goals might be. Short-term goal could be putting money away towards a rainy day fund. A long-term goal could be paying off a student loan and being debt-free in 15 to 20 years. It's okay if you can't think of any goals at the moment. Hopefully, a few will come to mind while we go through the budgeting process. Next, we'll discuss some strategies to help you meet your goals. When it comes to reaching your goals, are you doing or wishing? The difference is doers put action to their goals, and doers are much more likely to reach their goals and achieve their dreams. So if you're a doer, you're more likely to track your spending, live within your means, stick to a budget, pay off credit cards in a timely way, and deposit money into savings each month. Navigating your future requires that you begin to track where your money is going, set up a budget, and make small changes to begin to save. So tracking your daily spending habits is a very important first step to creating an accurate budget, and the only way to really learn where your money is going. So study your spending habits by, again, tracking your daily expenses, log your day-to-day spending for 1 month, and include everything you purchase. So any and everything that you pay for daily, no matter how small. Here's a fun tip. Since filling out forms isn't always fun or something that you remember to do, take a selfie photo with every purchase, no matter how small. You'll have a visual record of the items purchased to refer to later in your budget practice. If tracking your day-to-day spending sounds overwhelming, here's an option. Start small and track all purchases for a week to get motivated to really budget. When you're creating your personal budget, always consider your fixed and flexible expenses. Focus on making choices that are within your budget or choices that allow you to save money. Scan this shopping basket and think about how you could save money. What budget would you consider flexible, and by how much would you adjust that budget to save? You can type your answer in the chat. The key takeaway is that our choices affects our costs. So here's an example. Let's say your personal expenses for the year is $2,105. That comes out to roughly $234 per month for a school year of 9 months. But clearly from the items in the shopping basket, your total expenses for the month is $725. So you're over budget. Some things to think about. Do you really need to spend $45 on movies or $40 on laundry? Perhaps you could do your laundry at a parent's house. Do you need to be spending $100 on clothing every month? So these are things to think about when you're working with your budget. Practice makes perfect. So making a budget is a skill that will last a lifetime. Use this table to get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is write down your income. It might be an allowance from your parents or money that you earn from a job. The second thing is to record the money that you spend. So include everything from downloads to snacks to clothing and more expensive items. And then remember that when your income is greater than your expenses, you can save money for a future goal. So look for places to reduce your spending and start saving. So let's say you have a job where you get paid $12 an hour and you work 29 hours a week. So your income would be for the month $1,392. According to a report released by Zoomper this November, it's called the 2020 National Rent Report, it showed that the median cost of apartments in Plano for one bedroom is $1,090. On top of that, you have your utilities. So let's say your utilities are $158 and you spend about $400 on groceries and food. And your transportation is $385. So this includes your monthly note on a used car, your insurance, and fuel. Your total expenses comes out to $2,113, which is way over what you currently bring in as far as your income goes by $721. So ways of cutting that cost down, you could perhaps get a roommate to cut down the cost of rent and utilities and possibly even groceries, or taking public transportation to cut down the cost of your transportation bill. So these are just some things to think about. While there are several online budgeting templates that you can find, along with budgeting apps, we wanted to empower you to create your own budgets using Google Sheets. To get started, you'll need a Google account. If you have one, you can log into your account and follow along. Mind you, due to time restrictions, this will be a bit sped up, this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. Oops, okay. So to access Google Sheets, go to the Google Apps and scroll down and select Sheets. And you're going to want to create a blank sheet. For this class, I already have a blank sheet created. So Google Sheets is a web-based free application that you can access from any device. Let's look at some common terms. You have a cell, which is a single data point or element in a spreadsheet. A column is a vertical set of cells. And you have your row, which is a horizontal set of cells. And a range, which is a selection of cells extending across a row, column, or both. You have built-in functions, which it's a built-in operation from the spreadsheet. It can be used to calculate cell, row, or range values and manipulate data. You have formulas. So this is the combination of functions, cells, rows, columns, and ranges used to obtain a specific result. At the top, we have our tools, such as our border creation tool, which creates borders around cells, and merge tool, which merges cells to create one larger cell, along with your currency and your percentage formatting tools. And these are the ones that we'll be using mainly today. So let's jump in and create the skeleton of your budget. The first thing you're going to want to do is think about what type of budget do you want? Do you want your budget to be a weekly or monthly budget? So for this class, we're going to create a monthly budget. The second thing you're going to want to think about is what exactly do you want your budget to show? Well, this budget is going to have 4 tables showing our expenses, our income, our totals, and daily spending. When you create your table, you're going to want to label it. We'll do this by creating a banner. So select 5 cells across, and using the merge tool that's found up here, we are going to merge the cells. This combines the cells to create one larger cell. We're going to go ahead, excuse me, and label this January expenses. Next, we'll create the headers for our table. We'll have an expense column. We are also going to have a planned column, an actual column, a difference column, and a percentage of income. Let's make our table stand out by using borders. Go ahead and I'll left click and highlight our cells, and then click on borders. I'd like for the words to be centered, so let's align that. And then let's go ahead and create a larger border around our table. At the very bottom row, let's have a total row. And let's go ahead, left click and highlight the cells in that row, and let's create a top border. Okay, so that's just one table. For the sake of time, I've gone ahead and I've created our 4 different tables. So we have our January expenses, our source of income, our total income and expenses, and then our daily spending. And I can share this link and place it in the chat so that you too will have access to this. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and list our monthly expenses in our expenses table. So our monthly expenses for January will have food, home, transportation, school, and clothing. If you have more expenses, you can list them below. Next, you'll want to plan your budget. So let's plug in some numbers into the planned column for each expense. For January, our monthly budget is going to be, let's say, $150 for food. Let's say $300 for home, $50 for transportation, $100 for school, and $50 for clothing. Let's format these numbers as currency. So I'm going to left click and highlight. Let's go ahead and highlight all of this range and select format as currency. So our first function is going to be the sum function. This adds cells together. So select the first cell in totals in that planned column. And what you're going to do is you're going to type equals sum, open parentheses, and then what you're going to do is you're going to left click the first cell in the column, and while left clicking, scroll your mouse down to the last cell in that column right before you hit the total, and then hit enter. This will tally up those numbers in your planned column. So let's do this for the remaining columns in our expenses table. So again, that sum function is equals sum, open parentheses, left click that first cell, and while left clicking, scroll all the way down and hit enter. And we can do that one more time. Equals sum, open parentheses, and then all of the cells under that difference. All right, so next let's calculate the difference. So select the first cell in your difference column and type equals, then select the first cell in your planned column, type minus the first cell in your actual column, and hit enter. It's saying you can autofill, and you can if you'd like to, but I'm going to go ahead and say no to autofill, and so we can practice using that formula once more. So you're just subtracting your planned minus, select the actual, and hit enter. All right, so there's a tip I wanted to share with you as well. You can, as we saw earlier, you can use the autofill function. If you don't want to do that, you can also hover your mouse over the selected cell, and you'll see that it's there's a blue border and a blue box at the bottom right. If you hover over that box, you get a symbol that looks like a crosshair. So if you left click while you see that crosshair, and you, while left clicking, scroll your mouse down, and then you let go, it automatically uses that function for the remaining cells as well. So that's just a tip you could, a little trick you could do. Okay, so now that we've calculated the difference, why don't we go ahead and calculate the percentage of income? To do this, you'll have to complete your income table, at least the planned column. You can plug in your actual income as you receive payments. So source of income, let's say you have a part-time job and you make $600. And then let's say you have a secondary income. Let's say you pet sit and you make $100 from that. Let's add up our planned income using the sum function. So what we're going to do is type equals sum, open parentheses, select, so left click, select that first cell that corresponds with your part-time job, and highlight the remaining cells, and then hit enter. So that'll give us a total. And why don't we go ahead and highlight all of the cells in this table and format it as currency. Okay. What else should we do? Let's figure out the difference. So while we're here, let's use that subtraction formula again. And so that's equals, select your planned income minus your actual, and that'll give you the difference. And we can do that one more time. So equals planned minus difference, and it'll figure out the difference for you. So now that we have our income table slightly figured out, at least we have the planned figured out, let's go ahead and calculate the percentage of income in our expenses table. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the first cell under percentage of income, and you're going to type equal, then select the first cell under your planned column, and then type backslash for division, and type in your total planned income of $700, and then hit enter. So right now that gives us a monetary value, and we can do that again. You can autofill if you'd like. We're not going to autofill because I'd like to practice this this function with you. So once again, it's equals, select your planned expense for home. So that's 300 divided by key in 700, and that'll give us the total. And for the sake of time, let's go ahead and copy that formula all the way down there. Right now, again, this is giving us a monetary value. Let's change that to percentage, and there you go. Okay, so that's how you calculate the percentage of income with regards to your monthly expenses. So next thing, let's look at our total table. To quickly plug in the numbers for your planned and, oh, let me scroll down so you can see the rest of it. For your planned income and planned expenses, simply select the cell and then type equals and then select the cell under your planned totals expenses table. So actually this is our income. So let's go ahead and do income, hit enter. And then we'll do the same for expenses. So equals, and then 650, enter. So the difference is going to be our planned minus our actual. So we'll use that subtraction function again. So equals planned, you'll just select your planned income minus your actual, and then you hit enter. And then to tally this up, what we're going to do is we are going to type in equals. So it's your income minus your expenses. Hit enter, and that'll tell us how much money we have left. All right. Now let's focus on our daily spending table. So this is where you're going to track your daily spending for the month of January. We have a date column, we have a description column, we have an amount column, and a category column. This category column is in reference to your expenses. So let's go ahead and start off with the date, January 1st, 2021. And then let's January 2nd, 2021. You could type in every single date, or you can format it by highlighting the two cells. So that's left click, scroll down. And then what you could do is you could go over to your format at the very top, select or hover over numbers, and then scroll down to date, and that will give you that numerical date value. To copy this into the remaining cells, you can highlight the two cells, scroll over to where that box is at the bottom right till you get the crosshairs, and then while left clicking, scroll all the way down, and then that'll give you the dates. Okay, so now let's focus on the category. We're going to create a drop-down menu in this category column. Again, the category is referring to our expenses. So to create this formatting, highlight the cells, all of the cells in the category column, and then go to data, which is at the top, select data, and then scroll down to data validation, and you'll get this box. We want this to be list from range, and this is going to be our range. So we're going to make sure that this box is selected. And then next, the list of range again is going to be from everything under your column A. So left click and select the expenses under column A. So you're going to left click and highlight all the way down before you get to the totals. So that gives us a data range, and then select OK. We only want to use these expenses, so we're going to reject input and make sure that you show drop-down list and cell is selected, and then click Save. So that gives us a drop-down of all of the expenses that we have in our January expenses. So the last step is to use a formula that will have your daily spending table communicating with your monthly expenses table. To do this, we're going to use the sum if formula. So first, let's go ahead and let's say we're on the first, we are going to spend $500 on rent. We'll categorize that as home. Let's say you're going to purchase some pizza and spend $10. Let's categorize that as food. And then let's say gas, $20, and we'll categorize that as transportation. Let's format this as currency. Okay, perfect. So now let's go over to our actual column in our January expenses table and use that sum if formula so we can have our expenses table and our daily spending table communicating with each other. So click the first cell in your actual column, type equals sum if, open parentheses, left click and highlight the cells under your categories column. So you'll want to scroll all the way down. And then you're going to type comma, and then in quotation marks, type in the expense. So we are focusing on food as of right now. So I have food in quotation marks, and then you're going to type a comma, and then you're going to highlight all of the cells in your amount column and hit enter. There you go. So far we have only spent $10 in January. So the actual amount auto-populates to 10. Let's go ahead and try that for home. So equals sum if, open parentheses, highlight everything in your categories column, then type comma, and in brackets, or excuse me, in quotation marks, we are going to type in home, comma, and then highlight. So left click and scroll all the way down your amount column. So you highlight all the cells and then you hit enter. So again, what this is doing is you're telling it to tally up the expenses that are categorized as home. So if any of these are labeled as home, you are going to take the amount and you're going to pretty much tally it up. And that's how you get these two tables communicating with each other. So that is how you can create a simple budget using Google Sheets. Are there any questions with regards to this process? I don't think so. Okay, well, let's go ahead and we'll jump back into our presentation and move on to step 3 of budgeting for college. Okay, so step 3 is to save. An excellent step to consider when you're budgeting for college and planning for your future financial goals is to get a basic checking and savings account started at a bank or credit union. So let's talk about some reasons for using a bank or credit union. Without a savings and checking account, managing your money can get expensive, paying for check cashing fees and buying money orders to pay for bills. So a checking or savings account can help keep your money safe. You can use these accounts to take advantage of direct deposit, and they allow you to monitor your balance online, and you would be able to access your money from anywhere. So these accounts can help you also build a banking relationship, which is an important part of your credit history that we'll talk about later in step 4. Financial institutions offer a variety of insured savings accounts, each of which pay a different interest rate. There are two types of accounts that you could get. General savings accounts. These earn interest and allow access of funds at any time and movement of money from account to account. And then you've got your certificate of deposits, which are purchased for a specified term and return principal and interest at the end of the term. And there are early withdrawal penalties with this too. So when it comes to saving money, whether you're saving as little as $10 or $100 or even more, whatever money you can save is beneficial in the long run. Set up a savings goal for yourself. This could be daily, weekly, or monthly, and stick to it. There are free savings calculators you could use to help you calculate how much money you can save to reach your financial goals. And once you've figured out a specific amount that you'd like to save and the frequency at which you'll save that money, put it aside in a savings account. It's important to separate your spending money from your savings. Your spending money for things such as everyday needs should be kept in a checking account. Always remember that you shouldn't use your savings unless it's an emergency. So its purpose is for long term, so treat it as an investment. Another tip you could use when thinking about saving money is to ask your parents for assistance. Maybe your parents can match your daily, weekly, or monthly savings. It doesn't hurt to ask. Lastly, when you're thinking about saving money and budgeting for college, look at student discounts to help you save. Oftentimes, you'll need to provide your student ID to receive discounts, but every little bit counts. So now that you're budgeting and saving as you think about college and your future careers, another step that you can take is to build your credit. Examples of building credit include paying for gas for your car and any tolls on your credit card, then pay it down or off every month. This helps create a payment history and helps you utilize the credit card without spending an excessive amount of money. You can buy groceries with your credit card or pay monthly bills as well. The important thing to remember is that you want to pay it down or off every month. Don't spend money that you don't have. Keep in mind, if you are interested in getting a credit card, many financial institutions have specific requirements that you have to meet before you'll qualify. So for example, they might require a direct deposit account, or they might require that you have an account open with them for a certain amount of time. A good habit to develop as you're building your credit is to check your credit annually, your credit report. So even if you haven't used if you haven't used credit in the past, you might have information on your credit report and it may be incorrect. Your credit report shows everything about your payment history, such as late payments and your account usage. And lenders use credit reports and credit scores and other information such as employment history and income history when making the decision to extend credit. So what is a credit score? Your credit score is a statistically generated number representing the likelihood that you will repay on time. The higher the score, the less risk you represent to the lender. Your credit report is used to build your credit score. A credit score is not free, but some banks and credit companies do provide free credit scores with their account services. It's a good idea to check your score before you apply for a loan to find out if your score is eligible for the best interest rates. If the information on your credit report is accurate, then your credit score is accurate because it's based on information from your report. So what's included in a credit report? Well, the most important aspect of a credit report is your history of payments. Were your payments made on time? Were they late? If your payments are late or delinquent, this will lower your credit score, which means you'll probably have to pay higher interest rates or even be denied credit. Another aspect of your credit report is the amount owed on credit accounts, which affects your score. The Federal Reserve Board of Governors publishes a guide on credit, and there's also great information on the ftc.gov website, such as a sample dispute letter to send when you find a mistake, if you find a mistake on your credit report. So check that out. So once you know the score, there are ways to improve to improve or repair damaged credit, or even establishing credit for the first time. Again, remember that recent credit history is more important on your credit score than old credit history, but keep in mind, events stay on your credit history for 7 years. If you're establishing credit for the first time, a secured credit card might be a good idea for building credit. It will require a deposit usually equal to your credit limit. After 6 months or a year at most goes by, the secured card company will return your deposit and your secured card becomes a regular credit card. Some people confuse these with prepaid cards, but prepaid cards do not build credit. Another type of starter account may be a retail store card or gas card. Make sure the card provider will report payments to the credit reporting companies. We know that credit is a good tool to have, but always ask yourself if you're ready to take on a new credit obligation. You want to have credit if you ever need it, but is it better to save for some purchases like a TV or laptop? These are good questions to ask yourself and discuss with your parents. Always think about the pros and cons of financing a purchase. So here are some quick reminders on building good credit. Develop a budget and stick to it. Getting a new credit card does not mean you have more income. Save money so you're prepared for a rainy day. 3 to 6 months of living expenses are recommended, but we know that's not always possible. Whatever you can save will help. Pay your bills on time. Keep your credit card balances low or aim to pay them off monthly. If you pay them off monthly, you don't accrue interest charges. Check your credit reports annually and dispute any incorrect information. And when budgeting for college and building wealth, you need to take steps to make sure you build your credit responsibly and control any debt. Talk to your parents about whether or not building credit is the right decision for you at this moment in time. Here's some information on how you can go about reviewing your credit report. There are 3 major credit reporting companies, and each typically have the same information since most creditors report to all 3. You have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Let's go ahead and move on to step 5, which is protect your belongings. Another expense to budget for is insurance. Insurance is important to use to protect your belongings and yourself. There are several types of insurance that can range from protecting something as small as a cell phone to protecting something as large as a house. Some insurance is required by law and other types are optional. Make sure you get the insurance that you need to, again, protect yourself and your belongings. Let's talk about the basics of a few of them. So you have auto insurance, which is a must-have. You must have liability insurance at a minimum to cover injury to other people or damage to their property. If you have a car loan, you might also be required to have physical damage coverage, especially if it's a new car. Home renter's insurance helps protect your home and possessions in the event of fire or theft. Additional insurance may be required to cover flood, earthquake, etc. Home warranty is an annual service contract that covers the repair or replacement of important appliances and system components that break down over time, such as heating, AC, plumbing, etc. So a good action step to take every year is to review your renters and auto insurance coverage, deductibles, and premiums. It may be time to shop around and save on your monthly premium without taking on too much additional risk. Another type of insurance is health insurance. You should always consider your budget when you're completing your annual enrollment in a healthcare insurance provider. Many educational institutions offer healthcare to their students. Some students might have the opportunity to receive healthcare through their employer or through their parents' insurance plans. So remember, it's always important to determine which healthcare plan would be best for you and your circumstances. Here's some links to additional resources where you can find more information. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas has resources on their website that relates to money management and college and careers. This includes buildingwealth.org and a curriculum titled Navigate. So again, Navigate is a curriculum and it helps you explore college and careers. There's a portion that focuses on the financial aspects of higher education, so that could be useful. Ferguson's Career Guidance Center is a database you can find at planolibrary.org. It contains all sorts of information on different career paths, as well as information on college planning and financial aid. There's a financial aid directory that you could search based on different criteria such as major or student profile. You'll need a Plano Public Library card to access this database, but it's worth taking a look at. Big Future College Board is another great resource. There's lots of information that pertains to financial aid. And lastly, check out our Plano Library Learns blog. We have webinars on simple budget creation using Google Sheets and Excel as well. So check that out. Well, this concludes our presentation. Thank you for taking the time to attend our virtual program on budgeting for college. You can find more resources on our website, planolibrary.org, as well as our blog, planolibrarylearns.org. Let's open it up to a Q&A. Are there any questions? So a recording of this presentation will be emailed out to you in a few business days. So be on the lookout for that.
We have a question here, Malin. You mentioned that credit score is not always free. What does that mean?
I believe you sometimes have to pay for your credit score. I think you are able to access your credit report. Are you referring to a credit report or credit score? I think I meant credit report. I apologize, because with your credit report, sometimes you do have to pay to access that information. I believe you're able to get that report for free, I think once a year, I believe. So that's what I meant by credit scores are not always free. It's that score that is, I guess, displayed in your credit report. Like if you bank with Capital One, in their services, they have this feature that shows you a score, like your credit score. And so that's a good idea of what your credit score is. But again, you have to be a customer with Capital One. I know other banks do that as well. So that's another thing to think about. So we had a question, what are different types of college savings plans and how to apply for scholarships? That's a really great question. That's unfortunately outside of the scope of my knowledge as far as good college savings plans. I would say speak to a financial advisor and your parents when deciding what is best fit for you, and how to apply for scholarships. You can go to, I believe if you go to FAFSA, you'll have to apply that way. Like you'll have to, well, if you're looking for specific scholarships, fill out an application form and go through that. Let me see if I can find the link to that.
You're also able to apply for scholarships online through the different universities that you can apply for. And you're also able to get scholarships through external companies if they offer them. But you do have to go through the process of applying for them. And many require questionnaires and essays.
If there are no other questions at this time, thank you again for attending our virtual program. Once more, this presentation will be emailed out to you. So thank you and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.